Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Advance. I'm Jessica, your host for today. Have you ever had that feeling, that frustrating moment where you have so much you want to say, but the English words just seem to get stuck somewhere between your mind and your mouth? You've spent years learning grammar rules. You've memorized long lists of vocabulary. But when you're in a real conversation, face to face with someone, you freeze. You hesitate. You search for the perfect word. And in that silence, your confidence just seems to disappear. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know that you are not alone, and the solution is not to study more grammar or memorize more words. What if I told you that fluency isn't about knowing everything? Instead, it's about something much more beautiful. It's about understanding the music of English. It's about feeling its natural rhythm, embracing its flow, and speaking with the confidence that comes from connection, not perfection. Imagine being able to walk into any conversation and express your thoughts with ease, sounding smooth, natural, and authentically you. Today we're going on a journey together, a journey into the heart of spoken English. Here we won't just talk about rules. We will explore the living, breathing language that people use every single day in their homes, with their friends, and in their communities. We will train your ear to hear the music, your mouth to create the rhythm, and your heart to feel the confidence you deserve. So please don't just listen passively. Be an active part of this experience. When I ask you to speak, I want you to speak out loud. Repeat the phrases with me. Feel the words in your mouth and notice how your English grows stronger with every passing minute. This is your time to transform not just how you speak, but how you feel about speaking. Are you ready to begin this journey? Let's get started. When we dream of speaking English like a native speaker, our minds often jump to one thing: accent. So many learners believe that the ultimate goal is to sound perfectly American or perfectly British, to erase any trace of their own background in their voice. But I want to share a little secret with you. Sounding fluent and natural is about so much more than just the accent. In fact, it's really not about the accent at all. It's about rhythm. It's about intonation. It's about the natural, everyday expressions people use. And most importantly, it's about having the confidence to step into a conversation and just be yourself. If you take a moment and truly listen to a native speaker's conversation, you'll notice something amazing. Their speech isn't flat or robotic. It flows like a gentle river. Some words stand out strong and clear, while others are soft and quiet. There's a natural rise and fall, a melody in their sentences. This beautiful rhythm is what makes English feel so alive, so real. And the best part is, this is a skill you can learn. You can train your ear to hear this music and your mouth to replicate its flow, one step at a time. Let's start with something very simple, something you do every day. Imagine you're greeting a colleague, maybe someone named Ben, in the morning. A native speaker wouldn't say, "Hello, how is it going?" with each word perfectly separated. Instead, it would sound more like, "Hey, how's it going?" Notice the magic that just happened there. The two words, how is, have melted together to become how's. The us has almost vanished, and the final G sound in the word going often becomes softer, almost silent. This is a perfect example of what we call connected speech. It's not about being lazy or speaking incorrectly. It's about making the language more efficient, smoother, and easier to say. When you start to embrace these small, natural shortcuts, your own English will instantly begin to sound more fluid and authentic. Let's try it together now. I want you to say it out loud with me. We'll start slowly. Repeat after me. How is it going? Good. Now, let's try it a little bit faster, connecting how and is. Repeat after me. How's it going? Wonderful. And now, let's say it one more time, just like you're casually greeting a friend. Let the rhythm flow. Hey, how's it going? Can you hear that difference? More importantly, can you feel it? Can you feel how your mouth relaxes, how the words just glide together? This one small adjustment is one of the biggest secrets to sounding more natural. Another vital part of this English music is intonation. This is simply the way your voice goes up and down as you speak. It's the melody. For example, when a native speaker asks a question that can be answered with a simple yes or no, like, "Are you ready?" Yes, the pitch of their voice will rise at the end, almost like it's lifting up. Try that with me. Let your voice go up at the end. "Are you ready?" Now listen to what happens when I make a simple statement. I am ready. My voice naturally falls at the end. It's like it's landing softly. This is so powerful because intonation gives your listener clues about your meaning. It tells them if you're asking something, stating a fact, or even showing surprise long before they've processed all the words. Let's do a little practice exercise to feel this. I'll give you 2 sentences. I want you to repeat them after me, focusing on the melody of your voice. First, the question. Remember to let your voice rise. Do you like coffee? Good. Now, the statement. Let your voice gently fall. I like coffee. Fantastic. You see, with these small, simple details, your English starts to sound less like a list of words and more like a real, expressive conversation. You're not just speaking, you're communicating with feeling. Now let's talk about a habit that is so common among native speakers. They don't even think about it. Using contractions. Instead of saying, "I am going to the cafe," most people in a casual conversation will naturally say, "I'm going to the cafe." Instead of the formal, "He is my brother," we say, "He's my brother." And instead of, "They are not coming," we might say, "They're not coming," or even, "They aren't coming." Contractions are like the smooth connections in a beautiful piece of music. They help the words flow together, making your speech sound faster and more relaxed. They are a core part of almost every casual, everyday conversation. Let's practice a few of these together. I want you to say them out loud. Repeat after me. I'm happy. She's late. We're ready. They're coming. Excellent. Now let's hear them in a tiny, natural conversation. Just listen to the flow. I'm hungry. Really? I'm not. She's cooking dinner. We're going to eat soon. Do you hear how easy and natural that sounds? This is the real sound of everyday English, the kind of English that builds friendships and connections. But sounding natural isn't just about the words themselves. It's also about understanding the culture behind the language. For example, when someone asks, "How are you?" Many English learners have been taught to reply with a very polite, "I am fine, thank you." And while there is nothing grammatically wrong with that, it's not what you'll hear most native speakers say in a casual setting. It can sound a little bit formal, a little distant. Instead, someone might say, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" Or even more relaxed, "Doing okay? What about you?" Learning these small cultural nuances, these little conversational habits, will help you sound so much more authentic. It shows you understand not just the language, but the people who speak it. Let's try a quick role play. I will ask you, "How are you?" I want you to answer with, "I'm good, thanks." How about you? Ready? "Hey, how are you?" Good. Now let's try it one more time. Make it sound even more friendly and natural. "Hey, how are you?" Perfect. It's these real-life examples practiced over and over that build the foundation for true fluency. Let's touch on something called filler words. I remember when I was learning a new language, I was so afraid of silence. I felt that if I paused, people would think I didn't know what to say. But then I started listening closely to native speakers, and I realized they pause all the time, but they fill that silence with little words like, "well," "you know," "actually," or "like." These words don't have a lot of meaning on their own, but they are a crucial part of natural conversation. They give your brain a moment to think without creating an awkward silence. For example, instead of just saying, "I don't know," a native speaker might soften it by saying, "Well, I'm not really sure, you know," or "Actually, I don't have the answer to that." These little fillers make the conversation feel softer, more thoughtful, and much more casual. Let's practice a few of these. Repeat after me. "Well, I think so." "Actually, I don't know." "You know, it's a bit complicated." "Like it was amazing." "Great." The key is not to overuse them, but when you sprinkle them into your speech naturally, they make your English sound much more like a real, spontaneous conversation. Another incredibly powerful technique to bring your English to the next level is called shadowing. Imagine you're walking behind someone and you try to match their footsteps perfectly. Shadowing is the same idea, but with speech. It means you listen to a native speaker and you repeat exactly what they say, as they are saying it, or immediately after. You're like their echo. This simple exercise is a workout for your ears and your mouth. It trains them to work together in perfect harmony. It drastically improves your pronunciation, your rhythm, your intonation, and your overall confidence. You can do this with any short clip of a native speaker, from a movie, a podcast, or a video. Just listen to a line, pause it, and then repeat it, trying to match the words, the melody, and the emotion as closely as you can. Over time, your own speech will naturally start to absorb the flow of authentic English. Let's do a quick shadowing practice right now. I'll say a sentence and I want you to repeat it immediately after me, like my echo. Ready? "What are you doing later?" Again, "What are you doing later?" Now let's try it one more time, but a little faster, more connected, just like I would say it to a friend. "What you doing later?" Excellent. This one simple habit, practiced for just a few minutes each day, can truly transform your speaking skills. Now let's uncover another secret that native speakers use constantly: reduction. Reduction is when we shorten or blend words together when speaking at a natural pace. For example, going to almost always becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna. Give me sounds like gimme, and got to becomes gotta. Now you won't find these words in a formal essay, but in everyday conversation, they are everywhere. If you listen to movies or songs, you will hear these reductions all the time. Learning them is essential for both understanding native speakers and sounding natural yourself. Let's practice saying them. Repeat after me. "I'm going to watch a movie." "Do you want to come with me?" "Can you give me a hand?" "I gotta go now." Did you feel how much smoother and faster those sentences became? These little reductions are the glue that holds casual English together, helping you speak more quickly and with a much more natural rhythm. Before we move on, I want to give you a small challenge. I want you to take a moment and think of a simple, everyday conversation you might have. Maybe it's with your friend, Maria, and you're talking about your plans for the evening. Try to have that little conversation with yourself, out loud. But this time, I want you to consciously use the things we just learned. Use contractions like "eem" and "what's." Use reductions like "gonna" and "wanna." Use a filler word like "well" or "you know." And pay attention to your intonation. For example, "Hey Maria, what are you doing tonight?" I'm not sure. I was going to just stay home." "Oh, really? Well, do you want to grab some dinner?" "Yeah, sure, that sounds great." Doesn't that little dialogue feel so much more real and natural than what you might find in a textbook? The more you practice speaking in this way, the more comfortable and confident you will become. And slowly, step by step, you will notice that your English is starting to flow just like a native speaker's. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be natural, to be confident, and to feel comfortable every time you speak. When you embark on this journey to speak more like a native, it's truly important to understand that this transformation is built on two things: patience and daily practice. Nobody just wakes up one morning and suddenly sounds perfectly fluent. It's a gradual process, happening step by step through consistent repetition, active listening, and the courage to use the language every single day. The more you immerse yourself in the world of natural English, the more your brain begins to absorb not just the vocabulary, but the rhythm, the emotional tone, and the cultural style that make the language come alive. I remember a student of mine named Leo. He was brilliant. He knew every grammar rule in the book and had a huge vocabulary. But when he spoke, it sounded like he was reading from a textbook. He came to me feeling so frustrated. He said, "Jessica, I know all the words, but I don't sound real." So we started with one thing: listening. One of the most powerful things you can do is to listen with intention. Listening carefully to native speakers allows you to catch all the tiny, beautiful details in their speech that you would completely miss in written English. For example, think about the question, "Did you eat yet?" In a casual conversation, this often gets blended together and sounds more like, "Jeet yet?" The words melt into each other so seamlessly that a learner might think it's a completely different phrase they've never heard before. But when you listen with focused attention, you start to recognize these common shortcuts. And once you can hear them and recognize them, you're halfway to being able to use them yourself. Let's practice a few more of these blended phrases right now. I want you to repeat after me. We'll start slow, then say it the natural, fast way. Ready? The phrase is, "What are you doing?" Slowly, it's very clear. But quickly, it becomes, "What you doing?" Try saying it with me. "What you doing?" Good. Here's another one. "Don't you know?" When spoken fast, this turns into, "Don'tcha know?" Try it now. "Don'tcha know?" These little transformations are the heartbeat of everyday English, and practicing them will make your own speech sound so much more authentic. Another huge step toward native-like fluency is mastering natural responses. Many learners spend a lot of time trying to memorize long, perfectly constructed answers for every possible question. But in reality, native speakers often use short, simple phrases to keep the conversation moving and feeling light. For instance, if a friend asks, "Do you want to grab coffee later?" A native speaker probably wouldn't say, "Yes, that is a wonderful idea. I would be delighted to get coffee with you." They would more likely just say, "Sure, sounds good," or "Yeah, why not?" Instead of always reaching for a formal textbook answer, practice using these quick, casual responses. They will make you sound so much more natural and relaxed. Let's try a short practice session. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to respond with one of these native-style phrases. Ready? Do you want to watch a movie tonight? Good. You could say something like, "Yeah, sounds good." Now, another one. Are you ready to go? A great natural response would be, "Almost. Just a sec." Last one. Do you like this song? You could say, "Yeah, it's pretty good." Excellent. These short, easy responses are the bread and butter of daily English, and the more you use them, the more naturally you will sound. Pronunciation is, of course, a key piece of this puzzle. Now, I want to be very clear. It is not necessary to have a perfect American or British accent. Your accent is part of who you are, and that's a beautiful thing. However, you should focus on clarity and on mastering the sounds that are most common in natural English speech. For example, the th sound in words like think and this is often very challenging for learners because it doesn't exist in many languages. But native speakers use it constantly, and learning to produce it clearly will make your English so much easier to understand and sound much closer to theirs. Let's practice it right now. For the hard the sound, like in think, gently place your tongue between your teeth and blow air out. There should be no voice, just air. Repeat after me. Think. 3. 30 thunder. Good. Now, for the softer, voiced th sound, like in this, your tongue is in the same position, but this time you use your voice. You should feel a slight vibration. Repeat after me. This, that, those, these. Excellent. The more you practice these distinct sounds, the more natural and clear your English will become. Now, let's focus on word stress. English is what we call a stress-timed language. This means that within a word, some syllables are spoken for a longer time and with more energy than others. They are stressed. For example, in the word banana, the stress falls on the second syllable, banana. If you put the stress in the wrong place, like ba-na-na, the word can sound very strange, even if your pronunciation of the individual letters is perfect. Let's practice some common words and feel how the stress works. Repeat after me. Photograph. The stress is on the first syllable, pho to graph. Now what about the person who takes the picture? Photographer. See how the stress shifted to the second syllable, photographer. This happens all the time in English. Here's another example. The word record can be a noun or a verb, and the stress changes. Try it. As a noun, I bought a new record. The stress is on re. Now as a verb, I want to record a song. The stress is on chord. Excellent. Paying close attention to word stress will make your English rhythm so much smoother and more like a native speaker's. Let's put some of this into an everyday conversation. Imagine you are meeting your friend Chloe for lunch. The conversation might sound something like this. Hey, what's up? Not much. Just got here. Cool. Did you order yet? Not yet. I was waiting for you. Okay, let's get something to eat. Do you notice how short, quick, and natural the sentences are? This is the reality of how people talk. It's not made up of the long, perfect sentences you see in grammar books. Real conversation is fast, friendly, and connected. Practicing short dialogues like this is one of the best ways to build the natural rhythm of English. Let's practice one together right now. I'll be person A and you'll be person B. Ready, I'll say, "Hey, what's up?" Good, you can answer. Not much. Just got here. Now I'll say, "Cool. Did you order yet?" And you reply, "Not yet." "I was waiting for you." Perfect. Let's do it one more time, but a little faster. Feel the back and forth rhythm. This is exactly how native speakers communicate. Another fantastic tip for sounding more like a native is to learn common expressions and idioms. An idiom is a phrase where the meaning isn't obvious from the individual words. For example, instead of saying, "I am very tired," you might hear a native speaker say, "I'm beat." Instead of saying, "That is very easy," they might say, "It's a piece of cake." Or instead of, "I don't understand," a common casual way to say it is, "I don't get it." These small changes make a huge difference in how natural and fluent your English sounds. Let's do a quick practice with some popular idioms. Just repeat after me. I'm beat. It's a piece of cake. I don't get it. I'm all ears. Break a leg. Great. Now let's put them into short contextual sentences. I studied all night for the exam. I'm beat. Don't worry, this homework is a piece of cake. Sorry, I don't get it. Can you explain that again? You have a new idea. Tell me about it. I'm all ears. You have a big presentation tomorrow. Break a leg. Excellent. The more of these idioms you learn and actively practice, the more fluent and natural you will sound in your real conversations. Now, let's take a moment for another shadowing practice. I'll say a short dialogue that includes an idiom, and I want you to repeat after me, line by line. Try to copy my rhythm and intonation exactly. Ready? Hey, how was your weekend? It was great. I went hiking. Really? That sounds fun. Yeah, it was a piece of cake. Do you hear how the idiom just fits perfectly and naturally into the conversation? Let's try shadowing the whole dialogue one more time together. Keep the same friendly rhythm. Excellent. Finally, for this section, I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to practice speaking out loud, by yourself, for 1 full minute without stopping. Choose a simple topic like what you did yesterday or your plans for tomorrow. Don't worry about making mistakes. That's not the goal. The goal is to focus on speaking smoothly. Try to use some contractions, maybe a reduction like gonna, and perhaps even one of the idioms we just practiced. The point of this exercise is to train your mouth and your mind to keep moving forward in English, to build your speaking stamina, just like a native speaker. Remember, fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being natural, confident, and speaking without fear. The more you practice these small daily habits, the more comfortable you will feel. And little by little, you will hear yourself sounding more and more like a native speaker. When people talk about the goal of speaking like a native, one of the biggest hurdles that comes up again and again is confidence. It's a strange thing, isn't it? Many learners actually know more than enough vocabulary and grammar to express their ideas clearly, but when the moment comes to speak, they hesitate. They pause for too long, they second-guess every word, and in that hesitation, the natural flow of conversation is broken. Native speakers, on the other hand, speak with a forward momentum. Even if they make a small mistake or stumble over a word, they keep going confidently and smoothly. That's why building your confidence is just as critical as building your vocabulary or refining your pronunciation. Let me tell you about a student, Amelia. She was so afraid of making mistakes that she would often just stay silent in group conversations, even when she had something valuable to add. Her fear was holding her back more than her English skills. Let's think about a simple scenario. Imagine you're in the middle of a sentence and you suddenly forget the exact word you want to use. A common reaction for a learner is to stop, freeze, and feel embarrassed. But a native speaker would almost always find another way to express the idea. For instance, if you're trying to talk about your weekend and you can't remember the word umbrella, you might just say, "You know, that thing you use to stay dry when it's raining." The person you're talking to will understand you instantly. This incredibly useful skill is called paraphrasing, and it is one of the most powerful tools for sounding fluent and confident. It shows that you can think on your feet in English. Let's practice paraphrasing right now. I'll give you a situation where you've forgotten a word and you try to explain it in a different way. Imagine you've forgotten the word calculator. You could say, "It's that small electronic device we use for math to add and subtract numbers." Good. Let's try another one. Maybe you can't remember the word refrigerator or fridge. You could say, "It's the big cold box in the kitchen where we keep milk and vegetables fresh." Do you see how this skill allows you to keep the conversation flowing smoothly without any awkward stops? Paraphrasing is something native speakers do unconsciously all the time, and it will make you sound incredibly resourceful and natural. Another important factor in confident speech is using natural timing and pauses. When you listen to engaging native speakers, you'll notice they don't rush through every single sentence as fast as they can. They use pauses strategically. They pause for a moment after an important phrase or when they want to build a little bit of suspense or add emphasis. For example, listen to the difference in these two sentences. "I wanted to tell you that I finally got the job." It's okay, but it's a bit flat. Now listen to this version. "I wanted to tell you something. I finally got the job." That little pause builds interest and adds a much more natural human flow to the sentence. Let's practice this together. Repeat this sentence after me and make sure to include a small pause. "I wanted to tell you that I finally got the job." Great. Adding these small intentional pauses makes your speech much easier for others to follow and far more authentic. Now let's dive deeper into another powerful element, emphasis. Native speakers are masters of stressing certain words in a sentence to highlight what is most important. This can completely change the meaning of the sentence. For example, let's take the sentence, "I didn't say he stole the money." Let's see what happens when we emphasize different words. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," the emphasis on "I" suggests that maybe someone else said it, but not me. If I say, "I didn't say he stole the money," the emphasis on "stole" could mean that maybe he borrowed it or was given it, but he didn't steal it. The meaning changes dramatically just based on which word you stress. Let's practice this together. It's a fun exercise. Repeat after me. "I never said she was wrong." Now, let's change the stress. Repeat after me. "I never said she was wrong." And again, "I never said she was wrong." And finally, "I never said she was wrong." Did you feel how the entire feeling and meaning of the sentence shifted each time? This is a subtle but incredibly powerful tool that native speakers use all the time, often without even thinking about it. And now, you can start using it too. In daily life, one of the most common ways to practice sounding natural is through small talk. Small talk is just that. Short, casual conversations about simple, everyday topics. We talk about the weather, our plans for the weekend, or how our day is going. Even though these conversations might seem insignificant, they are essential for building connections with people. A native speaker waiting in line at a coffee shop might turn to the person next to them and say, "It's really cold out today, isn't it?" Or a colleague might ask on a Monday morning, "Did you catch the game last night?" Practicing these kinds of simple, friendly interactions will help you sound so much more natural in everyday situations. Let's try a very short, small talk role play. I'll start the conversation. "Hi, how's your day going?" You could answer, "Pretty good, thanks. How about you?" Now I'll say, "Not bad. Just been busy with work." And you can reply, "Yeah, I know that feeling." Great. That's a perfect, simple, natural exchange that could happen anywhere. It's these little moments that build fluency. Another tip is to pay close attention to the linking words and phrases that native speakers use to connect their ideas smoothly. Words like so, actually, by the way, anyway, and well are like the bridges between your ideas. They help your conversation move from one point to the next in a natural way. For example, instead of just abruptly changing the topic, you might say, "By the way, did you hear about the new restaurant that opened up?" Or if you get distracted, you can bring the conversation back by saying, "Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about." These little phrases give your English a much smoother, more coherent flow. Let's practice a few. Repeat after me. "So what do you think?" "Actually, I agree with you." "By the way, I saw Michael yesterday." "Anyway, let's continue." "Well, I'm not so sure." Excellent. Try to consciously use just one of these linking words in your next English conversation. It will make a noticeable difference and bring you closer to that native speaker sound. Now, let's do one more shadowing practice. I'll give you a short conversation that includes some of these linking words, and I want you to repeat it with me. "Hey, do you want to go out later?" "Well, I already have plans, but maybe tomorrow?" "Okay, sounds good. By the way, did you finish that report?" "Actually, I did. I'll send it to you tonight." Good. Let's shadow it one more time, really focusing on the rhythm and the natural, friendly flow. Perfect. Another key part of sounding like a native is the pronunciation of connected sounds. We touched on this earlier, but it's so important it's worth repeating. In English, words love to join together when spoken quickly. For example, want to almost always sounds like wanna. Going to sounds like gonna. And let me sounds like lemme. These connected sounds are a core part of natural, casual English. Let's practice them again, but this time in full sentences. Repeat after me. "I want to go outside." "She's going to call me later." "Let me know if you need any help." "I gotta go now. See you later." Excellent. These reductions are incredibly common in spoken English, and practicing them will help you blend into real conversations much more easily. Now let's practice our fluency with a longer exercise. I'm going to describe a simple daily routine in natural, connected English. I want you to try and repeat it after me, copying the rhythm and the flow as best you can. Ready? I'm going to wake up early tomorrow, grab some coffee, and then head to work. After that, I'm meeting a friend for lunch, and later, I want to watch a movie at home. Now try saying it again, all in one smooth, connected flow without stopping. Excellent. Practicing longer chunks of speech like this is a fantastic way to train your brain to think in English without translating every single word. Finally, we have another self-practice challenge for you. Choose one simple topic, like my favorite food or my plans for the weekend, and talk about it out loud for 1 full minute. As you speak, try to use contractions, reductions, linking words, and natural intonation. It doesn't matter if no one is listening. This practice is for you. It's about making your mouth and your mind comfortable with the rhythm of real English. Over time, I promise, you will notice yourself sounding more and more like the confident, fluent speaker you want to be. Remember, sounding native isn't about erasing your own identity or your accent. It's about adding the natural flow, the confidence, and the music of English to the way you already speak. And with consistent, joyful practice, you will get closer to that goal every single day. One of the most effective and enjoyable ways to practice sounding like a native speaker is to focus on the types of everyday conversations you are likely to have in real life. Let's imagine you're at a local cafe and you want to order a coffee. The textbook version of this interaction might sound something like this. "Hello, I would like to order 1 coffee, please. Could you please give me a small latte with regular milk?" While this is grammatically perfect, it doesn't sound very natural or relaxed. A native speaker in the same situation would likely simplify it. They might walk up to the counter with a friendly smile and say, "Hi, can I get a small latte, please?" Or even more casually, "Yeah, I'll just have a latte." Thanks. Do you notice the significant difference? The second version is shorter, much friendlier, and flows with a smoothness that makes the interaction feel easy and effortless. Let's practice these natural phrases together. Say them out loud with me. "Can I get a small latte, please?" Now, let's try the other one. "I'll have a latte." Thanks. Excellent. Practicing these kinds of real-world phrases will build your confidence immensely in everyday situations like ordering food, shopping for things you need, or making simple requests. Let's take another very common example. Imagine you're in a clothing store. A formal textbook way to ask for a different size might be, "Excuse me, I would like to try on the shirt. Can you please provide me with a different size?" But a native speaker would probably make it much more direct and casual. They might say, "Hi, could I try this on in a medium?" Or, "Do you have this in a larger size?" It's short, it's clear, and it sounds completely natural. Let's practice those. Repeat after me. "Can I try this in a medium?" "Do you have this in a larger size?" Great. Making a habit of practicing with these kinds of real-life situations is one of the fastest and most effective ways to train your English to sound more like that of a native speaker. Another wonderful detail to notice about native speakers is how they often use tag questions to make their conversations feel softer and more interactive. A tag question is simply when you make a statement and then add a small question at the end like, "Isn't it?" or "Don't you?" For example, instead of just stating, "It's a nice day," a native speaker will often add the tag, making it, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" or "You like pizza, don't you?" These little tags are like an invitation for the other person to agree and join the conversation. They make the interaction feel more collaborative and friendly. Let's practice some common tag questions. Repeat after me. "It's cold today, isn't it?" "You're tired, aren't you?" "She's your friend, isn't she?" "They're coming, aren't they?" Excellent. Tag questions are very easy to learn, but they add a friendly conversational tone to your English that feels much more natural and engaging. Now let's talk about politeness. Native speakers are often very polite, but they express it in casual, everyday ways. For example, instead of a very direct command like, "Give me that," which can sound rude, they will soften it by saying, "Could you pass me that, please?" Or, "Would you mind helping me for a second?" These polite forms make your English sound much softer and friendlier, which is exactly how native speakers usually communicate with each other. Let's practice a few of these polite requests. Repeat after me. "Could you help me with this?" "Would you mind opening the window?" "Can you pass me the salt?" "Could I possibly borrow your pen?" Wonderful. Adding these polite expressions to your daily English will make you sound not only more natural, but also more respectful and kind, just like a native speaker. Let's try a short role play to put this into practice. Imagine we are friends having dinner together. I will say something, and you can practice responding naturally. Ready? I'll say, "Hey, can you pass me the bread?" Good. You could answer, "Sure, here you go." Now I'll ask, "Do you want some more water?" You could answer, "Yes, please. Thanks a lot." Perfect. This is exactly how simple daily conversations sound when you use natural, polite English. Another thing that makes native speakers sound so different is their frequent use of phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is a verb combined with a small word like up, out, or into that changes its meaning. Instead of using long, formal verbs, native speakers often opt for these short, dynamic phrasal verbs. For example, instead of saying, "I will meet my friend by accident," a native speaker would almost always say, "I might run into my friend." Instead of saying, "I am going to relax with my family this evening," they would probably say, "I'm just going to hang out with my family." These phrasal verbs are absolutely everywhere in spoken English, and learning them is crucial if you want to sound closer to a native speaker. Let's practice a few of the most common ones. Repeat after me. "I'll pick you up at 7. "Let's hang out this weekend." "I ran into my old teacher yesterday, so I need to find out what time the movie starts." Excellent. Now let's place them into a short, natural conversation. Imagine one friend says, "Hey, can you pick me up later?" The other replies, "Sure." "What time?" "Let's hang out after dinner." Sounds good. By the way, I ran into Olivia today. "Oh, really? What did you find out?" Perfect. These are exactly the kinds of quick, phrasal verb-filled exchanges that make your English sound completely natural. Now, let's take a closer look at our listening practice, because your ability to listen is directly and powerfully connected to your ability to speak like a native. The more you listen, the more your brain becomes accustomed to the natural music of English. You can practice this by listening to anything you enjoy: TV shows, movies, podcasts, or even short video clips online. When you listen, pay attention not just to the words themselves, but to the rhythm, the speed, and the beautiful way that speakers connect their sentences together. Let's do another shadowing practice right now. I will say a phrase and you repeat it immediately after me, like an echo. Ready? "What time are you coming over?" Again, "What time are you coming over?" Now a bit faster, more connected. "What time you coming over?" Good. Let's try another one. "Do you want to go for a walk?" Again, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And now faster. "Want to go for a walk?" Excellent. This kind of shadowing practice will build muscle memory and make your own speech sound so much more authentic over time. Finally, let's finish this section with a longer fluency practice. I'm going to give you a short paragraph that sounds just like everyday native English. I want you to listen and then repeat it after me. Ready? So, yesterday I ran into an old friend of mine downtown. We hadn't seen each other in years, so we decided to grab a coffee and catch up. We ended up hanging out for about an hour, just talking about life. It was really nice, and I found out she's actually moving back to the city. Now, I want you to try and repeat it again, but this time make it sound smooth and natural, as if you were telling the story yourself. Excellent. Practicing with longer chunks of speech like this will train your brain to think and sound like a native speaker, one step at a time. Remember, it's not about memorizing every single phrase. It's about building good habits, using contractions, reductions, phrasal verbs, tag questions, and polite expressions naturally and confidently. Each of these small details adds up, and together they create the beautiful, authentic flow of native English. When you hear native speakers talk amongst themselves, you might notice that their English feels very casual, relaxed, and sometimes even quite playful. This is because they aren't just using formal words and strict grammar rules from a textbook. They are injecting their own personality into their speech. They use humor. They make little side comments, and they use playful language to make their conversations more engaging and interesting. If you truly want to sound like a native speaker, it's so important to start adding some of this natural personality into your own English as well. For example, instead of just saying, "Yes, I agree with you," a native speaker might show their enthusiasm by saying, "Yeah, totally." Instead of a flat, "I do not know," they might simply shrug and say, "I don't know." Or instead of, "That is very funny," they might laugh and say, "That's hilarious." These small, vibrant changes make your English sound alive and real, not like something you just memorized for a test. Let's practice a few of these casual, personality-filled responses. Repeat after me. "Yeah, totally." Or, I don't know, "That's hilarious." "No way." "You've got to be kidding me." Excellent. Now let's imagine them in a short, fun conversation. "Did you hear what happened to Ben yesterday?" "No way. What happened?" "He dropped his entire phone in the swimming pool." "You've got to be kidding me. That's hilarious." "Yeah, totally. He was so embarrassed." Do you see how this conversation feels casual, energetic, and fun? That is the style and feeling you should aim for when you practice sounding more like a native speaker. Now, let's talk more about the rhythm of English. As we've said, English is a stress-timed language. This means some words in a sentence are naturally stressed. They are longer, louder, and clearer, while other, less important words are softer and quicker. Native speakers naturally shorten and reduce function words like to, the, or of, while they put the stress on content words, the nouns, verbs, and adjectives that carry the main meaning. For example, listen very carefully to this sentence. "I want to go to the store." A native speaker would never say each word with equal weight. Instead, they would say, "I want to go to the store." The main stress is on want and store, while the other little words become much softer and blend together. Let's practice this together. Repeat after me and try to feel that rhythm. "I want to go to the store." Now, say it again, a little faster and more naturally. "I want to go to the store." Excellent. This rhythm is what gives English its unique music, and mastering it is a giant leap towards sounding like a native. Another incredibly helpful tip is to practice thinking in chunks of English, rather than single individual words. A chunk is a group of words that native speakers very often use together, like at the end of the day, as a matter of fact, or to be honest. Native speakers don't build their sentences one word at a time. They think in these ready-made phrases. For example, instead of slowly constructing the sentence, I do not agree, you can just think of I don't agree as one single smooth chunk of language. Let's practice some of these common chunks together. Repeat after me. At the end of the day. As a matter of fact. To be honest. Long story short, it all depends. Now, let's try them in full sentences. At the end of the day, it's your decision. As a matter of fact, I do know him. To be honest, I'm feeling a little tired. Long story short, we missed our flight. Excellent. Practicing with these chunks will help your brain process the language faster and allow you to speak more fluently and naturally. Collocations are another secret ingredient to sounding effortlessly natural in English. Collocations are simply words that are very close friends. They love to be together. It's a pair or group of words that native speakers naturally use in combination. For example, we always say you make a decision, not do a decision. We drink strong coffee, not powerful coffee. And when it rains a lot, we call it heavy rain, not big rain. Learning these natural word partnerships will make your English sound so much more authentic because you'll be using the same combinations that native speakers use without even thinking. Let's practice a few of the most common collocations. Repeat them after me. Make a decision, catch a cold, strong coffee, or heavy rain, fast food. Now, let's put them into short, everyday sentences. I need to make a decision about my job soon. She caught a cold last week and had to stay home. I absolutely love strong coffee in the morning. It looks like there's going to be heavy rain this afternoon. We were too tired to cook, so we just ate some fast food last night. Perfect. The more you notice and use these natural word friends, the more your English will flow with the ease of a native speaker. Now let's venture into a really fun area of English. Idioms. Idioms are creative expressions that have a meaning that can't be understood just by looking at the individual words. For example, the idiom break the ice has nothing to do with ice. It means to start a conversation in a friendly and relaxed way. Hit the books doesn't mean you should physically hit your books. It means to study very hard. And if someone says they are feeling under the weather, it means they are feeling a little bit sick. Learning idioms is like learning the secret code of a language. Let's practice a few of these fascinating expressions together. Repeat after me. Break the ice. Hit the books. Under the weather. A piece of cake. Once in a blue moon. Now, let's see them in action within short sentences. He told a funny joke to break the ice at the party. I have a huge exam tomorrow, so I really need to hit the books tonight. I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so I think I'll stay home. That math test was surprisingly easy. It was a piece of cake. We only go to that expensive restaurant once in a blue moon for very special occasions. Excellent. Using idioms correctly will not only make you sound more fluent, but it will also show that you have a deeper understanding of English culture. Now let's focus on a very practical skill: building longer, more fluent answers. Many learners, when asked a question, give very short, direct responses. This can make the conversation feel a bit stiff and can sometimes stop it from continuing. For example, if someone asks, "How was your weekend?" a learner might just say, "Good." But a native speaker would usually add a little more detail to keep the conversation alive. They might say something like, "It was good, thanks." I actually went hiking with some friends on Saturday. Let's practice this. I am going to ask you a question, and I want you to try to answer with a longer, more detailed response. What did you do yesterday? Good. You could say something like, "I stayed home and watched a new movie. It was really fun, actually." Here's another one. What's your favorite food? You could answer, "Oh, I absolutely love pizza, especially pepperoni pizza with a lot of extra cheese." Excellent. You see, adding just a few more details makes your English sound so much more complete, confident, and natural. Another important skill, especially in Western cultures, is knowing how to soften your opinions. Native speakers rarely speak in very direct, absolute, or confrontational ways. Instead, they often use softening phrases like, "I think," "maybe," "it's kind of," or "a little." For example, instead of stating directly, "This is wrong," a native speaker might say, "I think this might be wrong," or, "maybe there's another way to look at it." These small phrases make your speech more polite, less aggressive, and much more natural in everyday conversation. Let's practice a few of these softeners. Repeat after me. "I think it's okay." Maybe we should try that again. "It's kind of difficult." "I'm feeling a little tired." Perfect. Using these softeners will help you navigate conversations with grace and subtlety. And because it is such a powerful tool, let's talk about contrastive stress one more time. By simply changing which word you emphasize in a sentence, you can completely change its meaning and make your point crystal clear. For example, imagine the difference between "I said she was happy" versus "I said she was happy." In the first one, you're stressing the word "said," perhaps to correct someone who thought you wrote it instead. In the second one, you're stressing "happy," perhaps to contrast it with "sad." Each sentence carries a very different feeling. Let's practice this together. Repeat after me. "I said he could come." Now stress said, "I said he could come." Now stress he, "I said he could come." And finally, stress come. "I said he could come." Excellent. This skill will make your speech sound incredibly dynamic, natural, and expressive. Finally, let's put all of these new skills together in a longer speaking practice. I want you to listen carefully to this short story, and then repeat it after me. Try to capture the rhythm, the contractions, the idioms, and the stress. Ready? So, last weekend I went out with some friends and we decided to try this new restaurant downtown. The food was really good and the service was excellent. To be honest, it was a little expensive, but at the end of the day, it was totally worth it. After dinner, we went for a walk and we actually ran into an old classmate of ours. It was such a nice surprise. We ended up hanging out for a while, and overall, it was a great night. Now, try to repeat that whole story again, but make it sound smooth and natural, as if you're just chatting with a friend. Excellent. Remember, fluency is all about flow, not perfection. It's about speaking with confidence, connecting your words naturally, and expressing yourself without fear. Every day, If you can take just a few minutes to practice these skills, shadowing, using idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, and small talk, you will be laying the building blocks of truly native-like English. And most importantly, please enjoy the process. The more fun you have while you're practicing, the faster and more joyful your progress will be. Keep practicing, stay confident, and step by step, your English will sound more and more like the fluent speaker you've always wanted to be. When you want to sound like a native speaker, one of the most important skills you can develop is learning how to keep a conversation flowing. Many learners unintentionally end conversations by giving very short answers, but native speakers usually add a little extra detail, a feeling, or a related thought to keep the interaction going. For example, if a colleague asks, "How was your day?" a learner might just answer, "It was good." While that's correct, it sounds a bit final. It doesn't invite more conversation. A native speaker, however, might say something like, "It was good, thanks." "It was really busy at work, though, so I'm glad to be home now." That little bit of extra detail about being busy and being glad to be home makes the answer sound natural, complete, and it gives the other person something to respond to. Let's practice some of these extended answers. Instead of just, "It was nice," you could say, "It was really nice." "I got to spend some quality time with my family." Instead of, "It was busy," you could say, "It was busy, but I feel good because I got a lot done." Instead of "pretty good," you could say, "pretty good." "I just relaxed at home for most of the day." You see, adding just one or two more pieces of information helps your English flow much more smoothly and gives the conversation so much more life. Another very useful feature of native English is how speakers soften their opinions, which we touched on before. It's so important that it's worth exploring more deeply. Instead of stating something too directly, they often use phrases like, "I think," "maybe," "it's kind of," or "sort of." For example, instead of saying, "This movie is boring," which is very direct, a native speaker might say, "I think this movie is kind of boring." Or instead of saying, "You're wrong," which can be confrontational, they might say, "I'm not sure I agree with that." Let's practice some more of these softening expressions together. Repeat after me. "I think it's an interesting idea." "Maybe we could try that another time." "It's kind of difficult to explain." "I'm not sure I agree with that point." These small changes will make your English sound more polite, more natural, and much closer to the style of everyday native conversations. Now let's focus our fluency practice on describing daily routines. When native speakers talk about their routines, they use a lot of contractions and reductions that make their speech sound very relaxed and normal. For example, instead of the formal, "I am going to work," they say, "I'm going to go to work." Instead of, "I do not usually eat breakfast," they say, "I don't usually eat breakfast." Let's practice describing a simple morning routine together. Repeat after me and try to make it sound casual and smooth. "I usually wake up around 7, then I'll grab some coffee, and after that I head to work. I usually take the bus, but sometimes I'll drive if I'm in a hurry. After work, I like to relax for a bit, maybe watch a show or read a book." These sentences are simple, but they sound exactly like the way native speakers describe their daily lives. Another fun feature of natural English is using exaggeration for emphasis. Native speakers often exaggerate to make their speech more lively, funny, and expressive. Instead of just saying, "I was tired," a native speaker might say, I was so tired I could barely move. Instead of saying, it was hot outside, they might say, it was super hot, like an oven outside. Let's practice some of these common exaggerations. Repeat after me. I was so hungry I could eat a horse. It was freezing outside like an icebox. That test was so easy, it was a total piece of cake. I was so tired, I fell asleep the second I sat down on the couch. These exaggerations are not meant to be taken literally, of course, but they make your English sound much more colorful, fun, and natural. Next, let's talk about the pronunciation of weak forms in English. Small but important words like to, of, for, and often become very soft and quick in casual speech. For example, instead of saying, I want to eat, with a strong to, a native speaker's pronunciation would sound more like, I want to eat. Instead of, I'm tired of it, you might hear, I'm tired of it, with the word of sounding almost like a little ooh sound. Let's practice these weak forms together. Repeat after me and try to soften those small words. I'm tired of it. I'm going to the store. I'm looking for a job. Bread and butter. Did you hear how those small words almost disappeared into the rhythm of the sentence? This is a key part of natural English speech, and practicing these weak forms will make your speaking much smoother and more fluid. Another important part of native-like English is learning how to connect your ideas in longer sentences. Learners often speak in a series of short, separate sentences, but native speakers naturally connect them with linking words like and, but, because, so, by the way, anyway, actually, and well. For example, instead of saying, I like coffee, I drink it every morning, a native speaker would naturally link those ideas. I like coffee, so I drink it every morning. Or, I like coffee, and I drink it every morning. Or even, I like coffee because it helps me wake up. Let's practice some of these connecting phrases. Repeat after me. So, what do you think we should do? Actually, I think that's a great idea. By the way, I saw Maria yesterday. Anyway, let's get back to our plan. Well, I'm not sure about that. These small but mighty linking words give your English a much smoother, more sophisticated, and more natural flow. Now let's practice some short responses and reaction sounds. This is something you'll rarely find in a textbook, but it is absolutely essential for sounding natural. Native speakers don't always reply with full sentences. Instead, they use very short, natural sounds to show that they are listening, agreeing, disagreeing, or feeling surprised. For example, instead of always saying a full yes or no, native speakers very commonly use sounds like yeah, yep, nah, or nope. To show they are listening and understanding, they might just say uh-huh. To show they disagree or that the answer is no, they might say uh-uh. Let's practice making these sounds one by one. Repeat after me. Yeah. Yep. Nah. Nope. Uh-huh. Uh-uh. These short, simple responses are incredibly common in daily life. Using them will make you sound less like a textbook learner and much more like a real, natural speaker. Another common habit of native speakers is how they shorten their questions in casual speech. Instead of always using the full, grammatically perfect question, they often drop the first few words to make it quicker and more conversational. For example, instead of saying, "Do you want to join me for dinner?" a native speaker would very likely just say, "Want to join me for dinner?" Instead of asking, "Are you going to the party?" they might just say, "You going to the party?" These shortened questions are fast, efficient, and they happen all the time in relaxed situations. Let's practice a few together. Repeat after me. Want to join me? You going to the party? Need any help? Got a minute? Coming later? These quick forms are exactly how native speakers check in with each other or invite someone to do something in a casual, friendly way. Now let's talk about a very important and nuanced point: clarity versus speed. While it's true that native speakers use a lot of reductions and short forms to speak faster, true fluency is also about knowing when to slow down and be clear. For example, if you are chatting with a close friend, you will naturally speak faster. But if you are giving important directions to a stranger, a native speaker will automatically slow down, pronounce their words more carefully, and make sure the other person understands. This balance between fast, natural reductions and clear, careful pronunciation is a key skill that you should practice. Here's an example. The quick, casual version you might use with a friend. I'm gonna grab some lunch. Wanna come? Now, the careful, clear version you might use if you were speaking to someone who is still learning English. I am going to get some lunch. Do you wanna come? Both are correct, but knowing when to use each one is a sign of advanced fluency. Another powerful tool for sounding native is using intensifiers. Intensifiers are little words that add emotion, energy, or strength to your ideas. Instead of just saying, "That's good," a native speaker might say, "That's pretty good," or "That's really good." Instead of "That's nice," they might say, "That's really nice." Instead of "That's amazing," they might say, "That's totally amazing." Or instead of "That's true," they might say, "That's absolutely true." Let's practice some of these together. Repeat after me. That's pretty good. That's really nice. That's totally amazing. That's absolutely true. These intensifiers add so much color and energy to your English, making you sound more expressive and engaged. Finally, for this section, let's practice contrastive stress one more time. Native speakers often stress one specific word in a sentence to correct a misunderstanding or to emphasize an important difference. For example, if you ordered tea but received coffee, you would stress the important word. I said tea, not coffee. The stress on tea makes your meaning perfectly clear. Or, he's my brother, not my cousin. The stress is on brother. Let's try a few more. Repeat after me, putting the stress on the bolded word, I need it today, not tomorrow. We're meeting at 6, not 7. This way of stressing specific words gives your English precision, power, and a very natural rhythm. Now let's take a moment to focus on another key feature of native English that builds connection: small talk. Small talk, as we've discussed, is the short, casual conversation we have about simple topics like the weather, our daily plans, or what we watched on TV last night. Even though these conversations can seem small, they are incredibly important for building relationships and making people feel comfortable. For example, a native speaker might say to a coworker, "It's really hot today, isn't it?" Or to a friend, "Did you catch the game last night?" Let's do a quick role play. I'll start. "Hi, how's your day going?" You can answer, "Pretty good, thanks." "How about yours?" Now, I'll say, "Not bad. Just been really busy with work." And you can reply, "Yeah, I know the feeling." This is a perfect example of a simple, natural exchange that could happen anywhere, at work, in a cafe, or on the street. Another wonderful feature of native English is, of course, the use of tag questions. A tag question is when you make a statement and then add a little question at the end, like, isn't it? Or, don't you? For example, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? Or, you like Italian food, don't you? These little tags make conversations sound softer, friendlier, and more interactive. Let's practice some together. Repeat after me. It's cold today, isn't it? You're tired, aren't you? She's your friend, isn't she? They're coming later, aren't they? These small tags make your conversations feel more inclusive and inviting. Now, let's move on to politeness in everyday English. Native speakers often make their requests more polite by using phrases like, could you, would you mind, or can you? Instead of saying the very direct command, give me that, they would soften it by saying, could you pass me that, please? Or, would you mind helping me with this? Let's practice a few of these polite forms. Repeat after me. Could you help me with this for a moment? Would you mind opening the window? Can you pass me the salt? Could I possibly borrow your pen? These polite expressions will make your English sound softer and more respectful, just like a native speaker. Next, let's practice a short dinner role play. I'll be your friend at the table. I'll say, hey, can you pass me the bread? You can answer, sure, here you go. Now I'll say, do you want some more water? You can answer, yes, please. Thanks a lot. This is exactly how simple daily conversations sound in English when you use these natural and polite forms. And of course, let's not forget the importance of phrasal verbs. Instead of long, formal verbs, native speakers almost always choose short, dynamic phrasal verbs like pick up, hang out, run into, or find out. For example, instead of saying, I might meet my friend by accident, a native would say, I might run into my friend. Instead of, I will relax with my family, they would say, I'm just going to hang out with my family. Let's practice a few more of these. Repeat after me. I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock. Let's hang out this weekend. I ran into my old teacher at the supermarket yesterday. I need to find out what time the movie starts. Now, let's put them into one final short conversation. I'll start. Hey, can you pick me up later? You can answer, sure. What time? Then I'll say, let's hang out after dinner. You can reply, sounds good. By the way, I ran into Maria today. I'll say, oh, really? Did you find anything out? This is exactly the kind of natural, phrasal verb-filled exchange that happens every single day in native English. One of the easiest and most practical ways to practice sounding like a native speaker is to focus on the everyday conversations that you are most likely to have in your own life. Let's go back to that cafe. A textbook might teach you to say, hello, I would like to order 1 coffee, please. Could you give me a small latte with milk? This is grammatically perfect, but it doesn't sound very natural. A native speaker would simplify this to, hi, can I get a small latte, please? Or even more casually, yeah, I'll have a latte. Thanks. The second version is shorter, friendlier, and flows much more smoothly. Let's practice those again together. Repeat after me. Can I get a small latte, please? Now try, I'll have a latte. Thanks. Excellent. Practicing these kinds of real-world natural phrases will help you feel so much more confident when you are ordering food, shopping, or making any kind of small request. Let's do one more example. Imagine you're shopping for clothes. A formal version might be, excuse me, I want to try this shirt. Can you give me a different size? but a native speaker would likely say, "Hi, can I try this in a medium?" Or, "Do you have this in a larger size?" It's short, clear, and perfectly natural. Let's practice. Repeat after me. Can I try this in a medium? Do you have this in a larger size? Great. Practicing with these real situations that you will actually encounter is one of the very best ways to train your English to sound more like that of a native speaker. Another very important thing to notice about native speakers is how they use tag questions to keep their conversations soft and friendly. A tag question, as we know, is when you make a statement and then add a small question at the end like, "Isn't it?" or "Don't you?" For example, "It's a lovely day, isn't it?" Or, "You like pasta, don't you?" These little tags make the conversation feel more interactive and natural. Let's practice some tag questions together. Repeat after me. "It's cold today, isn't it?" "You're tired, aren't you?" "She's your friend, isn't she?" "They're coming, aren't they?" Excellent. Now, let's talk a bit more about politeness. Native speakers often use polite expressions in very casual ways. For example, instead of just saying, "Give me that," which sounds too direct, they would say, "Could you pass me that, please?" Or, "Would you mind helping me?" These polite forms make your English sound softer and friendlier, which is exactly how natives usually speak. Let's practice a few more together. Repeat after me. "Could you help me with this?" "Would you mind opening the window?" "Can you pass me the salt?" "Could I borrow your pen?" Wonderful. Adding these polite expressions to your daily English will make you sound not only natural but also very respectful, just like a native speaker. Now, let's do a short role play together. I'll be your friend at dinner, and you practice responding naturally. Ready? I'll say, "Hey, can you pass me the bread?" You can answer, "Sure. Here you go." Now, I'll say, "Do you want some more water?" You can answer, "Yes, please." Thanks a lot. Perfect. This is exactly how simple daily conversations sound when you use natural English. And of course, one of the biggest things that makes native speakers sound different is their use of phrasal verbs. Instead of using long, formal verbs, natives almost always choose short phrasal verbs like pick up, hang out, run into, and find out. For example, instead of saying, "I will meet my friend by accident," a native would say, "I ran into my friend." Instead of saying, "I will relax with my family," they might say, "I'll hang out with my family." These phrasal verbs are absolutely everywhere in spoken English, and learning them will help you sound much, much closer to a native speaker. Let's practice a few phrasal verbs together one last time. Repeat after me. I'll pick you up at 7. Let's hang out this weekend. I ran into my teacher yesterday. I need to find out what time the movie starts. Excellent. Now let's put them into a short conversation. I'll start. Hey, can you pick me up later? You can answer, sure. What time? Now I'll say, let's hang out after dinner. You can answer, sounds good. I'll continue. By the way, I ran into Sarah today. You can answer, oh, really? What did you find out? Perfect. These are exactly the kinds of quick, natural exchanges that make your English sound completely fluent. Let's take a final, closer look at listening practice. Because your listening skill is directly connected to your ability to speak like a native. The more you listen, the more your brain gets used to the natural flow of English. You can practice by listening to TV shows, movies, podcasts, or even short YouTube clips. When you listen, pay attention not just to the words, but also to the rhythm, the speed, and the way the speakers connect their sentences. Let's do another shadowing practice now. I'll say a short sentence, and you repeat immediately after me. What time are you coming over? Now again, what time are you coming over? And now faster. What time you coming over? Good. Let's try another one. Do you want to go for a walk? Now again. Do you want to go for a walk? And faster. Want to go for a walk? Excellent. This kind of focused shadowing will make your speech sound incredibly authentic. Now, let's finish this section with a final, longer fluency practice. I'm going to give you a paragraph that sounds just like every day, native English, and I want you to repeat it after me. So, yesterday I ran into an old friend of mine downtown. We hadn't seen each other in years, so we decided to grab a coffee. We hung out for about an hour, just catching up on life. It was really nice, and I found out she's actually moving back to the city. Now, try repeating the whole thing smoothly and naturally. Excellent. Practicing longer chunks of speech like this will train your brain to think and sound like a native speaker, step by step. Remember, it's not about memorizing every single phrase. It's about building good habits, using contractions, reductions, phrasal verbs, tag questions, and polite expressions naturally. Each of these small details adds up, and together they create the beautiful, authentic flow of native English. When you hear native speakers talking, you might notice that their English feels very casual, relaxed, and sometimes even playful. This is because they don't just use formal words and grammar. They add their personality into their speech. They use jokes, little comments, and playful language to make their conversations more interesting. If you want to sound like a native speaker, it's so important to add some of this natural personality into your English too. For example, instead of saying, "Yes, I agree with you," a native speaker might say, "Yeah, totally." Instead of saying, "I do not know," they might simply say, "I don't know." Or instead of saying, "That is very funny," they might say, "That's hilarious." These small changes make your English sound alive and real, not like something you just memorized from a textbook. Let's practice a few of these casual responses. Repeat after me. "Yeah, totally." "I don't know." "That's hilarious." "No way. You've got to be kidding me." Excellent. Now let's put them into a short conversation. "Did you hear what happened to Michael yesterday?" "No way." "What happened?" "He dropped his phone in the pool." "You've got to be kidding me. That's hilarious." "Yeah, totally. He was so embarrassed." Do you see how this conversation feels casual and fun? That is the style you should practice when aiming to sound more like a native speaker. Another very important thing to practice is giving natural reactions. In many cultures, learners are taught to respond only with full sentences. But native speakers often use very short, emotional reactions like, "Really? Wow. Oh no. That's great. That's too bad." Let's practice these together. Repeat after me. "Really? Wow. Oh no. That's great. That's too bad." Amazing. Excellent. Now let's try them in a real context. If I say, "I just got a new job," you can respond, "That's great." If I say, "I lost my wallet yesterday," you can respond, "Oh no. That's too bad." If I say, "I saw the funniest movie last night," you can respond, "Wow, really? That sounds fun." Practicing these natural, emotional reactions will help you sound so much more engaged and native in your real conversations. let's shift our focus to another area that native speakers use all the time: storytelling. Native speakers often tell short, simple stories about their day, their experiences, or funny things that have happened. When they tell stories, they don't use perfect grammar in every single sentence. Instead, they focus on keeping the story moving and making it interesting. They add small details, emotions, and their own reactions. Here is a very simple story. Listen first. So, yesterday I was on the bus, and this little kid started singing really loudly. Everyone in the bus looked at him, and he just kept on singing like he was on a big stage. It was hilarious, and it honestly made my whole day. Now, repeat after me slowly, one sentence at a time. So yesterday I was on the bus, and this little kid started singing really loudly. Everyone looked at him, and he just kept singing like he was on stage. It was hilarious, and it made my whole day. Good. This is the kind of simple, natural storytelling rhythm that makes your English sound like that of a native speaker. Now let's create a little exercise for you. Think of something funny or interesting that has happened to you recently. It could be something very small, like spilling your coffee, or running into an old friend, or seeing something surprising on the street. Now, I want you to practice telling that story in English, using simple, short sentences and natural reactions. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on sounding natural and confident. Another tool that native speakers use all the time is adding emphasis with little words like so, really, and super. These words are simple, but they carry very strong emotion. Instead of saying, "I'm tired," a native speaker might say, "I'm so tired." Instead of, "It's hot today," they might say, "It's really hot today." Instead of, "That movie was funny," they might say, "That movie was super funny." Let's practice. Repeat after me. I'm so hungry. It's really cold outside. That movie was super funny. I'm so excited for the trip. Excellent. Now let's use them in a quick conversation. Are you hungry? Yeah, I'm so hungry I could eat anything. Did you like the movie? Yeah, it was super funny. I really enjoyed it. You can see how these small words add so much energy and life to your sentences. Now, let's talk about rhythm and stress in full sentences one more time. Native speakers do not give equal time to every word. Some words are stressed and others are weak. This is what creates the music of English. For example, listen to this sentence. I want to go to the store. The stress is on want and store. The words to and the are much softer. Repeat after me. I want to go to the store. Now say it again, but make want and store stronger. Excellent. Another one. She needs to finish the report. Stress needs and report, and let the small words fall quietly. This is exactly what makes your English sound so natural. Let's practice this rhythm with a longer sentence. Tomorrow, I'm going to meet my friend for lunch, and then I need to get some work done. Stress the words tomorrow, meet, friend, lunch, and work. The other words should be softer and quicker. Do you hear the flow? That is the natural rhythm of English. Another feature of native English is casual pronunciation. Native speakers often drop sounds when they are speaking quickly. For example, want to becomes wanna. Going to becomes gonna. Did you becomes deeja. And what do you becomes what'ya. Let's practice these in sentences. Repeat after me. Deeja wanna come over? I'm gonna take a break. Deeja see that movie? What do you think about it? Excellent. At first, these might feel strange, but the more you practice them, the more natural they will become. Now, let's put everything together in a short final role play. I'll be person A, and you can be person B. A, what you up to? B, not much, just hanging out. A, cool, want to grab some coffee? B, yeah, sounds good. I'm super thirsty. A, great, let's go. By the way, did you hear about Liam? B, no, what happened? A, he got a new job in the city. B, really? That's awesome. This is exactly the flow and energy of a native English conversation. Remember, the key is not perfection. The key is rhythm, natural reactions, and the courage to speak without worrying too much about making mistakes. Every time you practice with these small shortcuts and natural habits, you are taking one giant step closer to sounding like a native speaker. At this point in our journey, you already know how to use contractions, phrasal verbs, tag questions, and the natural rhythm of English. Now let's go one step further. Let's talk about tone, phrasing, and connection. Tone is the music of your voice. It's how you make it rise and fall, and how you stretch your words. Phrasing is the way you group your words together into natural thoughts. And connection is how you link your ideas so that your speech feels smooth and logical. Think about it this way. Native speakers don't just say words, they perform them. Every sentence carries an emotion, an intention, and a little bit of music. Imagine you were telling a friend about a great weekend you had. A flat textbook version might be, I went to the park. I met my friend. We ate lunch. It was good. But a native speaker would use tone and phrasing to make it sound like this. So I went to the park yesterday, and you won't believe it. I ran into a friend of mine. We ended up grabbing lunch together, and honestly, it was such a good time. Did you hear the difference? The first version sounds like a robot reporting facts. The second version sounds like a real story. It's alive, it's warm, and it's connected. Let's practice tone. I want you to say this simple sentence in 3 different ways. The sentence is, I can't believe it. First, say it with excitement, like you just won something. I can't believe it. Now say it with disappointment, like something bad just happened. I can't believe it. Now say it with surprise, like you've just been told a shocking secret. I can't believe it. The words are exactly the same, but the tone changes everything. This is how native speakers make their speech feel real and full of emotion. Now let's move on to phrasing. Instead of speaking one word at a time, I want you to practice breaking your sentences into natural chunks or thought groups. For example, at the end of the day, it's your choice. To be honest, I'm a little tired. Long story short, we missed the bus. This chunking of your language makes your English flow like music. Try saying those lines again, and I want you to really feel that little pause between the chunks. Now, let's talk about those conversational linking words, the glue that holds your sentences and ideas together. Without them, conversations can sound like a series of random, disconnected blocks of text. With them, your speech flows smoothly and logically. Here are some of the most common ones. Actually, by the way, anyway, well, you know, and I mean. Let's put them into action. Actually, I don't think that's true. By the way, did you hear the news about the new project? Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, Antim. Well, I'm not really sure about that. You know, I've been thinking about it a lot recently. I mean, it's kind of a complicated situation. These little linking words keep the conversation alive and connected, just like in real English. Let's practice with a mini role play. I'll be person A. You can be person B, A. So how was your weekend? B. It was great. Actually, I went hiking for the very first time. A. Really? That's so cool. By the way, who did you go with? B. Well, just a couple of friends. You know, it was a lot more fun than I expected. A. Nice. Anyway, we should go together sometime. Do you see how smooth and natural that feels? That's what happens when you mix tone, phrasing, and these wonderful linking words. Finally, let's challenge you with a creative speaking exercise. I want you to choose one simple memory from your own life. Maybe it's the last time you went shopping, or a funny thing that happened at school, or your last trip. Now, I want you to retell that story in English, but I want you to focus on 3 things. First, use natural chunks of language. Second, add emotion with your tone. And third, use at least 2 linking words like actually, by the way, anyway, or well. For example, so yesterday, I was at the store, and I actually ran into an old friend. By the way, I hadn't seen her in years. We started talking and, well, I ended up being late for dinner. But honestly, it was so worth it. This is the kind of natural, connected English that makes you sound not only fluent, but also very engaging. Remember, speaking English is not just about the words you use. It's about connection. When you add tone, phrasing, and linking, you don't just sound like a student of English. You sound like a storyteller, and that is what makes people want to listen to you. Now that you know how to use tone, phrasing, and linking words, let's push your English fluency even further by focusing on storytelling and connection. Storytelling is truly at the heart of natural human conversation. Native speakers use stories not just to give information, but to build relationships and share experiences. A good story doesn't need to be long or dramatic. It just needs to feel real. For example, let's compare 2 answers to the question, "How was your weekend?" A learner might say, "It was good. I stayed home." But a native speaker might say, "It was good. I stayed home, but I actually ended up watching this hilarious movie. By the way, have you ever seen it?" The second answer tells a mini story. It adds a detail and it invites the other person to join in the conversation. That's what makes it so powerful. Let's practice building a mini story together, step by step. Step 1. Start with a simple event. I went to the park. Step 2. Add a detail. I went to the park and I ran into a friend. Step 3. Add an emotion. I went to the park and I ran into a friend. It was such a nice surprise. Step 4. Invite connection. I went to the park and I ran into a friend. It was such a nice surprise. Has that ever happened to you? Do you see how it grows from one flat sentence into a story that feels alive, engaging, and interactive? Now let's talk about using emotional language, the words and phrases that make your speech more colorful and expressive. Instead of saying, "I was happy," you could try, "I was really excited." Instead of, "It was funny," you could say, "It was hilarious." And instead of, "I was scared," you could say, "I was terrified." Let's practice a few of these emotional upgrades. Instead of, "I was a little tired," you could say, "I was exhausted." Instead of, "It was good," you could say, "It was amazing." Instead of, "I was sad," you could say, "I was heartbroken." And instead of, "It was big," you could say, "It was enormous." These stronger, more vibrant words add intensity and make your English sound so much richer. Now, let's combine these linking words with emotional language in a role play. A. How was your trip? B. It was amazing. Actually, the hotel was enormous, and the view from our room was incredible. A. Wow, that sounds great. By the way, how was the food? B. Well, the food was delicious, but one night we tried something so spicy I was terrified I couldn't finish it. A. That's hilarious. I know that feeling. This is natural English. It has details, emotions, linking words, and reactions all working together. Another powerful technique is to paint a picture with your words. Native speakers often use sensory language describing what they saw, heard, tasted, smelled, or felt. For example, the coffee was hot is not very vivid, but the coffee was steaming hot and the rich smell filled the whole room. Now the listener can almost feel it and smell it themselves. Let's practice. Repeat after me. The sun was shining brightly and the air felt warm on my face. The music was so loud I could feel the beat in my chest. The cake was sweet, soft, and it smelled just like vanilla. These sensory details bring your English to life. Now let's do a storytelling challenge together. I will start a story and I want you to finish it in your own words. So yesterday I was walking downtown and suddenly I heard, now it's your turn. Add a sound, add a detail, add an emotion. It doesn't matter if it's simple. What matters is that you stretch your English and connect your ideas naturally. Finally, let's practice one longer story that uses all the skills we've learned: tone, phrasing, linking words, emotional upgrades, and sensory details. Listen first. Last night I was so tired, but my friend called me and said, "Hey, let's go out for dinner." At first I didn't really want to go, but actually I'm so glad I did. We went to this little Italian restaurant downtown and the food was incredible. The smell of garlic and fresh bread filled the whole place, and the pasta was so delicious, I just couldn't stop eating. By the way, we even ran into another friend we hadn't seen in years. Honestly, it was just such a fun night, and I was so happy I didn't just stay home. Now, let's break it down and practice it in chunks, repeating after me. Last night, I was so tired. But my friend called me and said, "Hey, let's go out for dinner." At first, I didn't want it, but actually, I'm so glad I did. We went to this little restaurant downtown, and the food was incredible. The smell of garlic and fresh bread filled the whole place, and the pasta was so delicious I couldn't stop eating. By the way, we even ran into another friend we hadn't seen in years. Honestly, it was such a fun night, and I was so happy I didn't just stay home. This is how native speakers tell stories, with rhythm, with emotion, and with connection. So please remember, don't just give answers, tell stories. Don't just use basic words, upgrade them with emotional language. Don't just list facts, paint a picture with your words. And don't just speak flatly, use your tone and phrasing to make your English come alive. The more you practice like this, the more your English will sound fluent, natural, and completely captivating. Now it is time to bring everything together. You've practiced contractions, reductions, phrasal verbs, tag questions, idioms, emotional words, and even storytelling. In this final part of our lesson, we are going to combine all of these skills into one powerful, natural style of English, the style that native speakers use every single day. True fluency is not about perfection. Native speakers make small mistakes all the time. They pause. They use filler words like or you know. They sometimes even change their minds in the middle of a sentence. What makes them sound fluent is not that they are perfect, but that they are able to keep going, to let their words flow like music. And that is what I want you to focus on now. So let me give you one final example. Listen carefully. Last weekend, I had this grand plan to just stay home and relax. But guess what? My phone rang and it was my friend, Olivia. She said, "Hey, let's just go on a little road trip." At first, I was like, no way, I'm super tired. But then I thought, you know what? Why not? So we jumped in the car, we turned on some great music, and we just drove. The sky was so clear, the wind felt amazing blowing through the windows, and honestly, it was one of the best days I've had in a really long time. Did you notice what happened in that story? I connected my ideas with words like so, but, and you know what? I used emotional language like super tired and amazing. I added sensory details like the sky was so clear and the wind felt amazing. And most importantly, I told a story, not just a list of facts. That is what makes English feel alive. Now it is your turn. I want you to think of your own story. It doesn't need to be a big adventure. It could be something very simple, like the last time you ate at a nice restaurant, or a small trip you took to a nearby town, or even just a funny thing that happened while you were walking in the park. I want you to tell that story in English. But as you do, make sure you connect your sentences with words like so, actually, and by the way. Add emotion with words like super, really, and totally, and try to paint a picture with what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, or what you tasted. That is how you will make your English sound completely natural. Let's try a little role play together. Imagine this conversation. A. Hey, how was your weekend? B. It was great. Actually, I ended up going on a little adventure. A. Really? What happened? B. Well, I was planning to just stay home, but a friend called me and we decided to go hiking. The view from the top of the mountain was incredible. The sky was so clear and the air felt so fresh. Honestly, I was exhausted by the end of it, but it was totally worth it. A. Wow, that sounds amazing. I wish I had been there. That is exactly the rhythm of a natural, engaging conversation. Notice the short, quick answers, the emotional words, and the small details that bring the story to life. Let's do one quick, final fluency drill. Repeat after me, but say the words in chunks, not one by one. At the end of the day, it's not about the grammar. It's about the flow. It's about the rhythm. It's about connection. The more you practice, the more natural you'll sound. Do you hear how the pauses create that beautiful rhythm? That rhythm is what makes English sound like music. Here is your final challenge for today. I want you to speak for 1 full minute without stopping. You can choose any topic you like. Your favorite food, your last holiday, or something funny that happened at school or at work. When you speak, I want you to remember to use contractions and reductions like I'm, you're, gonna, and wanna. Use connectors like so, well, and anyway. Add emotion with words like super, really, or amazing. Include at least one detail using your senses, like what you saw or how you felt. And please don't stop. Even if you make a mistake, just keep the story going. The truth is, English is not just a subject you study in a classroom. It is a tool for connection. Every phrase you learn, every story you tell, every little laugh you share in English brings you closer to the people around you and to the world. So please keep practicing. Don't wait for the perfect moment to use your English, because the perfect moment is right now. Step by step, word by word, and story by story, your English will not only sound more fluent, it will feel more alive. And that is the real goal. Not just speaking English, but living it. You've come such a long way on this journey with me today. I want you to think about that for a moment. You started with single words and short phrases, and now you have built the power to tell stories, to share your emotions, to react naturally, and to speak with rhythm and with confidence. That is something truly worth celebrating. Please remember, speaking like a native speaker is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about letting your English carry your unique ideas, your feelings, and your personality. Every single time you practice, you take another step closer to becoming the speaker you want to be. And every one of those small steps matters. I want you to feel proud of yourself right now. You have shown patience, you have shown effort, and you have shown courage. Most learners stop when things get difficult, but you kept going. That determination is what will make you a truly fluent speaker. So here's my final message for you today. Don't stop here. Keep practicing every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Talk to yourself in English. Tell your stories out loud. Repeat after native speakers in movies and podcasts, and let English become a natural part of your life. The more you live with the language, the more natural it will feel. And if this lesson gave you value, if you learned even one new thing today that made you feel more hopeful or more confident, then I would be so grateful if you would subscribe to English in Advance. Please click the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support doesn't just help me, it helps this entire community of learners grow. Together, we can create a space where learners from all around the world feel confident, supported, and inspired to speak English fluently. So keep shining, keep practicing, and keep believing in yourself. Because the truth is, you can do this. You can speak English with confidence, with clarity, and with your own unique style. And I will be right here to guide you every step of the way. Thank you so much for listening. Stay strong, stay motivated, and I'll see you in the next lesson.